Welcome to 22 Sounds weekly look at the upcoming vinyl releases. I'm Manu, co-owner of 22 Sound, the independent record store in Mandeville, Louisiana. And in this video, I want to take a look at what I think are the highlights of vinyl release week, October 13th, 2023. I gotta say, I'm still buzzing as I'm shooting this video. We just had Derek Riggs at our store. For those of you who don't know who Derek Riggs is, he is the guy who created all of Iron Maiden's album and singles covers in the 80s, aka the awesome period. And he is the guy who created Eddie, the famous mascot. So it was a big honor to have him here, and I just needed to mention it real quick. It was just such a great time. Thank you to Derek and Kim for, if for some reason you're watching this, I told him in person too, but thank you all again for giving us the opportunity to host this event. It was such a fun time. We had so many people coming out. Thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you to Chris, who got us in touch with them. It was really just an unforgettable day for all of us. And yeah, if you're an Iron Maiden fan, check out our little video that we made on our channel as well about basically how amazing Iron Maiden is, but also a little bit about how the role that Eddie and Derek Riggs' art in general played in Iron Maiden's rise to fame. So yeah, that's just a little side note there. That was a really exciting thing. But let's get into the new music or the new releases. We have some reissues of classic albums in this video as well. And of course, before we go into that, just want to remind you real quick, you can pre-order all of those records straight on our website, 22soundrecords.com. All right, let's get started with Bryan. Yeah, his new album, self-titled, it came out a little bit ago, maybe like a couple of months or so. Getting a vinyl release now on October 13th, and I gotta say, really great album, really like it. He held the #1 spot in the album and singles Hot 100 for a little second. That's a pretty big thing to achieve, and I think it's well deserved. I'm not the biggest country guy, to be honest, but there's some country that I really appreciate, and Zach is definitely one of those. Actually, his vibe reminds me a little bit more of like that typical Heartland rock in a way, you know, kind of like a little less rocking version of guys like, you know, Springsteen, Petty, Mellencamp. There's a little bit of a sadness to his songwriting, but it's like sad but never bleak. There always seems to be a little hopefulness in there. Really like that vibe that he portrays in a lot of those songs. Love his voice, and of course he's a great songwriter. Really great knack for those immediate catchy melodies. Would say, yeah, this is really one of the highlights of the year. Really great album, really like it. All right, next up is Asking Alexandria with Where Do We Go From Here. Then we have a new album from Crosses, which is a side project of Chino Marino from Deftones, their new album Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete. Then we have Boldy James, Fair Exchange, No Robbery. That was actually released about a year ago at this point, but I'm pretty sure it was only limited vinyl release up until now. So now we're finally getting widespread vinyl release, something that happens a lot in the hip-hop community. Bit of a delay for those releases, or at least like just proper quote-unquote regular releases. But yeah, if that's an album that you really enjoyed, finally getting a vinyl release of it, with Gucci Mane with a brand new album, Breath of Fresh Air. Then we get Creeper from England. That's another one that I'm really curious about, I have to say. Creeper, if you're not familiar with them, yeah, I would say probably somewhere in that kind of pop punk emo-ish range of things. Getting more and more as they grow, I guess, or as they go along, have a little bit of a goth vibe to their music. I gotta say, their last album I thought had some absolutely brilliant moments, but then they also had some of those moments that, to me personally, but it's probably just personal taste, almost a little cringy. I'm not always the biggest fan of pop punk. Sometimes those melodies are a little bit too, kids melodies with guitars for me. But then there's also those moments that are just absolutely brilliant. But what I really loved was their last EP, American Noir. On that one, they just went full on bombast, no compromises. I mean, that was bombastic in the sense that, Jim Steinman would have been proud of them for that. It really had just such a wide scope to it. Absolutely love that. Especially, to be honest, I don't know all the band members' names, but I loved the female voice on it, or the interplay of the two voices. I hope they're gonna do that more on this one, because man, she has a good voice. I shouldn't hide her in the background. So bottom line, if they can do what they did on American Noir for a full album length, we will be in for one of the highlights of the year. So really curious about that one. Let's see what they can do. Then we also have Dream Nails with Doom Loop. We have Beartooth with The Surface. We have To The Grave with Director's Cut, album that was released earlier this year, but I think this is now the first vinyl release coming out. And we have Two Mold, another highlight, with The Enduring Spirit. Came out a couple weeks or so ago, so I had a little chance to listen to it. Two Mold, if you ask me, one of the most interesting death metal bands at the moment out there. Very musical. I think what's so great about them is they can do the kind of primitive, old school death metal riffing, that kind of vibe, but they can also get really proggy, and I feel like on this album they really just went for it. Did a little bit of everything. There are moments on there where they almost get jazzy. There are moments where they, straight up pretty. But then there are those moments that I guess appeal probably more to the old school death metal fans that can do it all. Their guitarist is absolutely amazing. One of the most creative death metal guitarists in the scene at the moment, if you ask me. I love his other project, Dream Unending, as well, and I say that as a guy who doesn't even listen to a whole lot of doom metal. Doom is usually a little bit too slow for me, and but those two Dream Unending albums can definitely highly recommend them too. The guitar playing is just absolutely brilliant, and I love that he actually put in a little bit more of what he's doing there into that two-mode sound too. So really cool album. Definitely a treat for fans of extreme metal. Very creative, very unique album for sure. And then we have also some really cool reissues coming out, starting with Pink Floyd, the 50th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon. 50 years, and I mean, it's amazing. This album still, whenever we have any copies of that at the store, they pretty much sell immediately. Whether they are originals or any kind of reissue, it's just an album that's aged extremely well, that just kind of spans generations. This one is remastered by James Guthrie. Comes on 180 gram vinyl in a gatefold jacket, some poster stickers. Should be a really nice package, and well, we'll see how far they stray from the original sound on this remaster. We have Sleep Token with This Place Will Become Your Tomb. That was originally released in 21, and not super widespread vinyl release. I think there's some versions out there, but now here your chance if you missed it at the time. Sleep Token, of course, getting a lot of attention, especially this year, one of the breakouts, I guess, in the heavier music section, commercially speaking. And then we have a reissue of Soilwork, Stabbing the Drama. Soilwork, melodic, Swedish melodic death metal band from that kind of original era of Swedish death metal, and I always thought they were kind of the most American sounding of those big bands of that era. of course, they were a big influence on what was at the time called the new wave of American heavy metal. You know, bands like Killswitch Engage, All That Remains, and so on. And I always thought Soilwork's probably kind of like the closest link between the two sides of the pond there. They have that death metal heaviness to them, but it's very melodic, even melodic sometimes on the vocal front. Some pretty big hooks on there, so they are really cool band. Definitely one of the highlights of their discography getting reissued. And then we have little treat for 90s kids. We have Fatboy Slim, if you remember. You've Come a Long Way, Baby. That was big. That was big in Europe. I'm not even sure. I lived in Europe at the time. I'm not sure how big a deal it was in America, but man, that was big. And of course, Cranberries. I know they were big on either side of the pond. They're reissuing To the Faithful Departed, their album from 1996. All right, this is, or was, of course, just a little snippet of all the vinyl releases of that week of October 13th. There's much more. Check out our website, 22soundrecords.com. I put the link in the video description. I put links directly to the records that I mentioned, but of course, there's much more to discover, so check out our website. And yeah, make sure you pre-order the records from us. That would be great. That's really the greatest way to support our store, other than, of course, coming by in person, which we love. We'd love to see you there. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.